flower. I don't know if you can see it down here. It's white, but it has like purple stripes and a little yellow and a little brown chocolate spots. And it's in like a big, I guess it's called big grouping. So when that is covered, it's lovely. Unfortunately, right now, it doesn't look its best, but it is coming on with it.
When does that bloom?
In the spring. So a reason to come back.
Those are the same ones that are on the Palace Green right now?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry, did you say it was a native or not a native?
No, it is a native.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The other thing that's interesting about this tree is it is a host plant. I don't know if anybody knows what a host plant is, but it provides a specific insect food to survive. And this is the host plant for the Catalpa sphinx moth. So she only will lay her eggs on this tree. And then they eat the leaves. When they hatch out, they become caterpillars. And caterpillars become food for other birds, other insects. And if there's any fishermen in this group, big fish bait. It's also called the fish bait tree because they use the caterpillars for fish bait. So they say they're better than earthworms. I don't know, I'm not a fisher person, but in case you are. Okay, any questions on that?
Anything done with the pods?
No, actually not. We've been told that you can dry them out and use them maybe for fire starter, but the roots are poisonous and there's no known edible purpose for any part of the tree. At least that's what we've been told.
Well, it's amazing how that one brings.
Come way out. Well, that tree is about the same age as the Compton oak. It was planted about the same time period. The ones along the palace are much younger. They're not, nothing here is original to when the colonists came. Just so you are aware, we don't have any 500-year-old trees. I wish we did, but we don't. Because you really won't be able to see anything. It's non-native to here. It's a crepe myrtle. I'm sure many of you probably have heard of them. They are beautiful. They're called the lilac of the south. I can pass that around if you want to just look to see what the flowers look like. You're not going to see any flowers today. Has a very interesting bark that shreds. Unfortunately, because it's non-native from Asia, it doesn't really support anything. No wildlife, but nothing that humans can use out of it except its beauty.
Enjoy it.
Just to enjoy it. The other thing to be aware of is when it comes time to prune, it is really a tree. It's not a shrub. People tend to like chop it off and then let it root again. It's really not meant to have that happen. That's what we call crepe murder here in the trade. So you really only trim things that are damaged, diseased, dead, or deranged. So if you have, branches crossing each other, yes, but you don't just like whack it off. Just keep it in mind for future reference.
So the colonials brought crepe myrtles.
They did in
Just for the beauty of it.
1747. They brought them into Virginia. It would have been a tree for the gentry. The middling sort, which is your average person, couldn't afford to have that because it doesn't really do anything. It doesn't give them food. It doesn't provide shelter. So it was really just put in a pleasure garden for the gentry. Anybody else need to see the handout? Okay, thank you very much. So yes, just for the beauty of having it. All right, and we're going to walk down to the corner of Queen Street and Nicholson, and that'll be our next stop. Comfortable for you all.
What country did you say the crepe myrtle was from?
It's from Asia.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we've seen those in Hawaii.
Yeah, they're everywhere now. I mean, they're very popular, and they like warmer weather. You won't really see. Well, my sister has one up in Pennsylvania. So
Really?
can go up that far.
I have one in New Jersey.
Okay, so up that far too. All right. Well, what we're going to look at right now is this glorious tree right here. This is an American beech tree. Now, I do have a picture of, I actually have the nuts, because one of the things about the beech tree is beech nuts. which were eaten by the colonists, by birds, and by wildlife. Now when I pass this around, pay attention to how tiny that little nut is. And it's not this, it's inside that. So it's a little nut, but you know what? If you're hungry and you need something to eat, you're going to take the time to pull that out of there. So this is what the coating looks like. Obviously these are the leaves. This tree is known for its smooth bark. It's probably been used as a place to write your name in, carve in a heart with the initials. Back in Roman times, they even have record of Romans writing in it. And in England, the bards and poets wrote verses and poetry into the bark. And then we had one of our frontiersmen, Daniel Boone. Does anybody know who Daniel Boone is? Daniel Boone was a man. Probably don't know that, but anyway. He actually wrote that he killed a bear in 1760 in Tennessee. And when they took that tree down in 1916, they said it was 365 years old. So beech trees live a very long time. And obviously a lot of food for wildlife, especially now. And let's see if that is a host plant. It is, to the early hair-streak butterfly. And that is a lovely blue and teal with red spots butterfly. I don't know a lot about, yeah, I can pass this around. So you can see those little beech nuts. So this can get pretty big. It can get to about 120 feet tall. But it's not, that's not terrible. The next thing we're going to look at right here is the American holly. Now, American holly has a male and a female. So you have to have a male and a female nearby if you want the red berries. Now, the English that came over would have recognized this because it looks like their own English holly. The wood was used for inlay. In fact, if you're in the governor's palace, you can actually see where they've used it in the staircase for the inlay in the restoration. Let's see, what else was I talking about? Yes, that's the American holly. It is an evergreen. It does produce red berries on the female plant. They are poisonous to humans and our pets, but not to wildlife. So if you have one in your yard, just be aware. I'm always picking them up. So I have a dog that's always looking for something to eat. So let's see, anything else on that? And it grows to be about 50 feet tall and very long-lived. Yes. Did you? Oh, okay. All right. Yes. Yeah. Unfortunately.
But the birds and the squirrels.
Birds and squirrels love them. Yes. And you'll see lots of little volunteers where they've dropped. So here is a little bit better picture of the holly. If you want to look at that, we'll pass that around.
I don't think that male and the female have to be near each other.
Well, they have to be close enough for the pollinators to get from one place to the next to pollinate them.
I had a female in my front yard, but no one around me had another holly.
Well, there was a bee
There was
or a butterfly
there was a
or
visitor.
something that was, because that's the only way you're going to get berries is if it's pollinated. So it may not be right nearby. In fact, my husband went on this tour with me because I had to practice, it's been a while. And he says, well, where's the male? I'm like, good question. I don't know. But it's somewhere nearby because that's got berries on it.
Looks like there might be one back there.
There might be. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is the bayberry. It's called myrtle. It's that shrub hedge right behind the fence. Now I actually, as a treat for you all, got a bayberry candle. Oh, pass it around. This was something that was during, they would take the berries, hickory, green, gray color as a wax. They would boil that, the wax out up to the top, and then actually make the candles out of it. Now, it's very, very labor intensive, so only the gentry would have been able to afford these candles. I do have a quote I want to tell you because this is just hilarious to me. Robert Beverly wrote in 1705, about the bayberry candle. If an accident puts a candle out, it yields a pleasant fragrance to all that are in the room. Insomuch that nice people often put them out on purpose to have the incense of the expiring snuff. So you can imagine. Yes, exactly. But this was like, oh, that smells so good. Did everybody have a chance to get a little sniff of this? Yes, it is quite lovely.
And that's the natural scent.
That is the natural scent, yes. But as I said, very labor intensive to pick all those berries and boil them and create that candle. But they were actually exporting bayberry candles to England in 1752. 1771, the merchants here were making candlesticks for the half-ounce candles. That's how big they were selling them. Now, this is a 6-ounce bottle. So just think about where a half an ounce would be. Way down in here somewhere. So you know they were very small. It is. I went online and looked to find one that was made like real bayberry. Not, I don't know if it is or not, you know, some advertising may not be accurate, but I tried. Okay. The next tree we're going to talk about is this one right here. It's a linden tree. American linden or basswood. The wood is very soft. It was used in carving or to make picture frames. The cortex, which is right inside the bark, was used for making rope. Now that's a small tree. The one in that courtyard, if you can see this large tree, it's lost most of its leaves. That is a full-grown basswood. And the reason they call it basswood is because the fiber on the inside of the bark is called bast. So they just made the name basswood. It also is very highly attractive to bees and pollinators because in the spring it has clusters of yellow flowers with lots of nectar. You can still buy linden honey today. I did find it on Amazon of all places, Etsy, World Market. Lots of places carry linden honey. I've never tried it, but if you're into honey, you might want to get a little bit. Let's see. It's to be about 120 feet tall. Now it's primarily used in landscape as a shade tree. Not really used for anything else at this point. The next tree we're going to talk about is this large pine. That's called a loblolly pine. They're all over Virginia. It was kind of a workhorse in colonial times because it was used for planking and shingles and interior work, exterior work, furniture, just about anything you can think of, pine was used for. And when they cut the tree down, the interior hardwood, all the resin coalesce, they would actually use that as a torch, or they call it a poor man's candle. Because they didn't waste any part of the tree if they could avoid not to, because they needed all the wood they needed for keeping warm, making their food, etc.
So, this woman that I've
And
got
right now, I just learned this.
pretty good friends with, that we took sailing, she just moved into the neighborhood.
So it's still a very popular tree and a fast grower. Okay, any questions?
So, how old would this tree be? Do you have any idea?
Hey, good question. I don't know.
It's a fast grower. And it would have to.
I'm going to say,
Is this the Arboretum tour?
Yes.
Thanks.
well, I know that it's not over 50 years old, probably. Oh, thank you very much. But don't quote me on that. I really don't know.
I was
I'm
just
sorry.
curious. I mean, it would if they're going to be using it for all kinds of furniture.
Yeah, right. But
That's a
it just
native.
had a lot of uses back in the day.
That's a native, right?
Yes, it's absolutely a native. All the trees that we just talked about here at this stop are native to Virginia. And most of them were actually right here in the area during the time. There's a couple that aren't. Thank you. And where are you from? Oh, okay. We got stuck behind a drawbridge. Do you believe this? Yes, I do.
Yes. We believe
It
it.
happens. Okay, we're going to walk up to the Duke of Gloucester Street. as you walk down the street on the left-hand side, on the other side of that wall are Darlington oaks. Our next stop is all about oaks. We'll get there. It is an understory tree, so if you're out wandering around, it kind of looks like an umbrella if you're out in the forest. It looks like that. It looks about the size of a mango. I have a picture of what it looks like on the inside. I can find it. There we go. So the fruit grows in clumps, and when you cut it open, it has that custardy color. It's like orangey color. I actually picked one up this summer, took it home, cut it open, tasted it because I'd never had pawpaw before. It does taste like banana, mango, and then it has a little astringent taste, kind of like pineapple. It would have been much better cold and with ice cream, so keep that in mind. If you ever,
But everything is better with ice cream.
isn't that the truth? That's the truth. But the colonists would have used this in pies and puddings to help with flavoring. And I did.
Pawpaws in the grocery store?
You cannot, because they are very fragile, and so they don't really store well. Well, I thought I had my pawpaw nuts in here, but I don't see them. Let's see. Nope, that's not it. Sorry, I don't have them. I thought I brought the seeds with me today, but I didn't. So if you want to see what the seeds are pretty large. It's kind of surprising how big they are. You can see them inside. I'll pass that around if you want, if you haven't seen it. Okay, so we're going to finish up. We're going to walk through the Catherine Orr Garden during the spring, summer, fall. They do have a Meet the Gardener tour. It's fabulous. Learn all about the garden. And they're closed for the winter because it's too cold. But if you come back, be sure to look into it because it's really quite interesting. We're going to walk through there. Right past the well house is a tree called a tough bumelia. Tough bullet is what they call it. It is a native plant, and it is one of our national champions. Now, when you see it, you're going to be, really? That's a national champion. But it's all about the size and how long it's been around. So we'll look at that. And it has white flowers on it when it blooms, and does have berries that you'll see, which are tasty for animals but toxic to us. A lot of things animals can eat that we can't, so just be aware when you see stuff you're not sure of, pass it by. Okay, we're going to go on through here. I know I'm running a little late, sorry. I'll try to be quick on that.
Oh, you already saw it, you see it, or?
You okay?
Yeah.
I'll send Doug the pawpaw video.
Oh, I know.
Second or even third plant.
Damn. I think we still have another cutting a Swiss chard.
Yeah.
My wife told me I wasn't allowed to cut any of the broccoli that we saw around.
Very tasty.
I won't say anything about the things in your back pocket, Doug.
Thank you. Yeah, we're actually not too far from our place.
Down yet, and there'll be more tours, so we can find out. Now we're going to go in here. This is the Orlando Jones house. Little fun fact: you can actually rent this house. It's been totally restored. Next time you come back, you may want to bring proof and have at it. That is the boxwood I was telling you about. So just keep your hands in your pockets or something. You don't want to touch that because we just don't know what all that is. But we'll come on into the garden and
like you have company, but.
Did you guys hear that?
It does look in good condition.
Well, like you up there.
Wherever's most convenient and comfortable for you guys. A quick quiz. What does it look like? Oak tree. Yay! You win it. You get the prize. Yes, it's a live oak. It always looks alive. Anyway, the carrot on the top of it. See, I'm going to get that in your head if you want to know it or not.
Really dark acorns.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
All right, so
I've seen it.
first tree that we were going to talk about was an American elm tree. That was a very popular tree, especially in the early 1920s and 30s, all across America. Unfortunately, it was hit by lightning during the Hurricane Ian and had to be taken down. I mean, huge branch. You want to see the stump? It's right in the corner there, but it's gone, unfortunately. And that tree had been babied, let me tell you, because Dutch elm disease is a terrible disease that kills elm trees. There are not that many that survive even today because of it. And it's one of the downsides to planting a monoculture. When you plant all the same thing, sometimes you run into diseases or viruses like we're dealing here with all this boxwood right now. So the Arboretum is now practicing a much more diverse planting scheme. And they're going like 70% native, 30% non-native, because they've learned their lesson. And one of the things that they are using more of now is the yopon holly, and that is that shrub right there. It can grow into a big bush about 20 feet tall. Does have berries on it. Wildlife can eat it, humans cannot. The leaves in colonial time were used for medicinal purpose. They were brew with tea. I wouldn't recommend it though. It has not great side effects.
It looks a lot like a boxwood.
It
So you
does.
look at it closely.
So now they are using more of this because it's native, and it can be trimmed into other topiary designs, hedge, sculptured, however you wanted to do it. So it's probably not the only one they'll use, but it is one that they are trying to replace with the boxwood. They use a hedge trim. But I mean, it's people making a right in your a lot of practice. Yeah. Yes, they are quite good. There are downsides to using a hedge trimmer, but that's not part of this tour. Okay. We'll talk to me about it afterwards. Okay, the next one we're going to talk about is paper mulberry. This is not from here. This is non-native. It is from the Orient. It would have been in pleasure gardens of the gentry because of its unusual shape, its texture, bark, and it's a small tree. Only gets to be about 40 feet tall. It's primarily used for shade. We know that Thomas Jefferson had 2 paper mulberries, one on each end of his porch, shading himself. The leaves are very interesting. They can either be heart-shaped, look like a mitten, or trident, where it has 3 points, which is very unusual in itself. I do have pictures, if I can find them.
So does it grow crooked or did something happen? Is that the correct stature?
No, it tends to die out, and then it gets another like root, and then comes back up. So that's like 5th generation, I think I was told. And I know there's a metal stake in there holding it up. Used to be when trees had holes in them, they would fill them with cement. Well, now they don't do that anymore. The cement is gone, but that stake is still in there and holding it in. It's not going anywhere because the tree has surrounded it.
Does the cement poison the tree?
I don't think it actually does, but it breaks down over time and doesn't really help
Okay.
support it like it should. We seem to be able to do better on their own and without our own intervention. So I'll pass this around. This is the leaf of the paper mulberry, so you can see what it looks like and the tree itself. We're almost finished. I apologize. I'm running over, but it's just the way it goes sometimes.
Very interesting.
The big tree in the back is an American sycamore tree. It's a huge tree. It can get to be like 170 feet tall, but very cool. There are pictures of it in that with the leaves on, and it has a little round ball, which is a seed ball. It used to be what the Carolina parakeet would eat. That is now extinct. More than likely because its food source was wiped out. It's one of the reasons, one of the things they think. They don't know for sure, but that was its primary food source. Was the American sycamore. But it's still enjoyed by other birds and wildlife today. And the wood of the sycamore burns very low heat, so it was actually used in the tobacco barns to help cure the tobacco and remove the humidity in the barn so it wouldn't scorch the leaves or dry them out. Because if you want tobacco to roll tobacco, it can't be all brittle and fall apart. Paper was kind of a new concept, you know.
So the U.S. temperature environment was very good for tobacco. I mean, I know it was a good cash crop, but it happened to match with the environment.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now they did grow other things here because they had to grow food. In fact, I think it was Governor Beverly actually had to put a decree out to say, oh, so much land has to be in food for us to eat. It can't all be tobacco. You can't eat tobacco.
See, that's what I was
I
saying.
mean, you know how people
They
get
grew
carried
mostly
away with
tobacco 'cause they made
money.
money.
Okay, the next tree we're going to talk about is the common persimmon. That is native to here. It has a smaller persimmon fruit, but very tasty. So it was also used when ripe in cooking, for flavoring of food, breads. Also used to make beer. First craft beer ever. You think IPA? Persimmon.
That's the tall tree.
That's the tall tree, and if you look at the bark, it's very blocky. It kind of looks like alligator skin. And then the last little tree we're going to talk about, which is lovely when it's, you know, blooming, is a serviceberry or shad bush. And they called it that because when the shad fish are running, spawning, which is March, April, it starts to bloom and produce these little red purplish berries, which they actually did eat. The colonists ate, baked them into pies, into bread, or just ate them raw. And now it's enjoyed by wildlife. So that concludes the trees that we're going to talk about. Now, I think we've pretty much covered everything. Does anyone have any questions about anything I've gone over? I know I've been but
Can I take a picture of the book cover of the?
absolutely.
That man you were discussing.
Doug Tellamy,
Yeah, 'cause
wonderful
we
guy.
wanna-
He's my latest hero.
I have a question. Is tobacco? Sorry, I'm so stupid. Tobacco wasn't Indian then? Tobacco was
No, it was,
European.
yes, it's European.
Okay. All right.
Oh, sorry. And it was actually Indians grew it here.
They did, but
Root beer.
Europe was already into it.
They were already into it, but there were American tobacco plants that the Indians developed here. And if you go to Jamestown and go into the settlement, they actually have a tobacco garden that you can look at. So last but not least, if there's anything that you would like to hear about or change that would improve your experience from my talk today, would you please let me know? We're always trying to improve the quality of our tours. We are volunteers, but you know, we still like to do a good job. So if there is anything, you can stay after or just say, yeah, it was great, and go on your way.